All right, Devil Dogs, we're going deep today
Yeah.
into MCDP 1 to 4.
Yeah, the Marine Corps' take on competition, how it works in the world today.
And look, we might not be rocking the dress blues,
Nope.
but we've been hitting the books big
In
time,
time.
getting this doc ready, especially for you.
Make it really hit home, yeah.
And one thing that pops out right away, kind of crazy,
What's that?
it says the core, you guys. It's always competing,
Always.
even when things seem,
Every single choice. Heck, even not choosing, it sends a message.
So, like, even back in the, what are they called?
Oh, the Banana Wars, right?
Yeah, those deployment Marines were competing then.
Dude, those were textbook hybrid ops like the MCDP talks about.
Hybrid, like mixing it up.
Exactly. Cooperation and Titanicity conflict all rolled into one.
So holding down the fort but ready to rumble.
Exactly. You're projecting power, showing what the Corps can do.
Just by being there, they were already in the game.
100%. It's that constant awareness. You're always shaping the scene.
Like right now, us talking about this, it's part of it, right?
No doubt, knowledge is power, even in peacetime.
So this campaigning mindset the MCDP is always on about.
That's the long game, man, not just the next firefight.
More like chess than checkers.
You got it. Thinking steps ahead, planning for the long haul.
And not just about, like, tanks and choppers, right?
You're talking about national power diplomacy, the whole 9 yards.
Working with other countries, not just going it alone.
You got it's a team effort. Always.
And one thing that surprised me, the MCDP says to be that humble.
Humble.
Yeah, like, admit you don't know everything.
Oh, absolutely. That's huge.
Why is that?
Because if you think you've got it all figured out, you're going to get blindsided.
So always got to be learning, adapting, real.
Always. Like the doc says, Marines are thinking professionals.
So it's not just about being tough, it's about using your brain.
You gotta be both, man. That's the edge.
It's like even hitting the gym, it ties into this whole thing.
You better believe it. Physically fit Marine, that's a signal right there.
Strong, ready, all that.
Exactly. And same goes for mental toughness, education, the whole package.
Makes you a better competitor, even without firing a shot.
100%.
Okay, so we got this idea, you're always competing.
Right.
And it's about more than just the fight itself.
It's the build-up, the prep, the mindset, everything.
Now, the MCDP also gets into some wild stories, right?
Oh, yeah, some good ones.
Like Marines out in the field, writing computer code.
No kidding, right there on the front lines.
Talk about thinking outside the box.
Using their brains to gain advantage, that's the Marine way.
But the MCDP, it doesn't just stay in the military world, does it?
Oh, no, it pulls in lessons from everywhere.
Like, what was that book? Something about innovators, the innovator's dilemma.
A business book. What's that got to do with the Corps?
It's all about adapting, staying ahead of the curve, even when you're already successful.
Like, didn't it use that camera company as an example?
Kodak, yeah, they missed the boat on digital cameras, big time.
Even though they invented the darn things. They got too comfortable, stuck in their old ways.
So the lesson is the Corps can't get complacent, right?
Can't afford to. Gotta be looking for that next game changer, always adapting.
So even though this deep dive is about the Corps, you being a Marine,
right,
it makes you think about yourself, your own strengths.
It does, for sure.
What you bring to the fight, how you fit in.
And that's something we'll keep unpacking as we go.
Because the MCDP, it doesn't just tell the Corps what to do.
No way.
It's telling you, the individual Marine, how to think.
That's the big takeaway, right?
And one last thing that blew my mind, this idea that choosing to do nothing.
Do nothing.
Is still a decision, a competitive move.
Yeah, it sounds crazy, but it makes sense.
How so?
Because your rivals, they're always watching.
They see you doing nothing, they might think you're weak.
Or they might underestimate you, which can be an advantage too.
It's like you're always sending a message, even when you're standing still.
You're always in the game, whether you realize it or not.
This MCDP, it's a whole new way of looking at things, isn't it?
It really is, a whole new mindset for the Corps.
And for you, our listener, out there in the fleet.
You're the one who puts it all into action, remember that.
Now, we've thrown a lot at you already.
A lot?
But we're just getting started.
Oh, yeah, there's more to dig into.
When we come back, we're going even deeper into MCDP 1 to 4.
We'll see how the Corps is adapting, what challenges it faces.
Stay frosty, Devil Dogs. We'll be right back. This whole campaigning mindset thing, it's about more than just the next fight, right?
Way more. It's that long-term view the MCDP is always pushing.
Thinking years, even decades ahead.
You got it, like a grand chess match, not just a quick skirmish.
And knowing the other players, not just your buddies.
Got to understand your adversaries, their goals, how they think.
Strengths, weaknesses, all that.
And honestly, being humble about our own end side, too.
Humble. Why is that so important, this whole competition thing?
Because nobody's perfect, even the core. We got to be open to new ideas.
Admit when we're wrong, learn from mistakes, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And never stop learning. That's where education comes in. Big time.
Not just boot camp stuff, but the wider world too, right?
You hit it. MCDP says Marines need that deep understanding.
Of what's going on out there, all the crazy trends, tech stuff.
Social, economic, the whole picture, it all ties back to the Corps' mission.
So reading up on history, economics, even keeping up with gadgets.
All of it helps. Makes you a better Marine, a better thinker.
Because the lines are getting blurry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Between like land, sea, air.
And cyberspace, all mixed up now.
Plus, so many different threats popping up.
State actors, terrorists, hackers, you name it.
Makes you realize the Corps got to be flexible, ready for anything.
And that hybrid thing we were talking about before.
Cooperation one day, full-blown combat the next.
Exactly. Got to be able to shift gears on a dime, adapt to whatever comes your way.
Like that multi-tool every Marine carries.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Right tool for the job, always ready.
But being that flexible, it can't be easy, right?
It's a challenge, for sure.
Like what kind of challenges?
Well, you got to have Marines who can think on their feet, solve problems.
Not just follow orders, but take initiative, figure things out.
That's the essence of a thinking leader, what the MCDP wants.
And the Corps itself, got to be willing to shake things up too, right?
No doubt. Can't be afraid to change, to innovate, even if it's uncomfortable.
Like that Kodak story, stuck in their old ways, missed the digital boat.
Exactly. The Corps has got to be looking ahead, always evolving.
Embracing those game-changing ideas, new tech, new ways of thinking.
And that's where looking back at history can help too. Learn from the past.
Like how'd the Corps adapt to those early nukes?
Well, they had to rethink everything. Amphibious landings were suddenly vulnerable.
So they came up with what, helicopters?
That was a big one, yeah. Had to get creative to stay relevant.
So in a way, it was adapt or die back then?
You could say that they chose to adapt and it paid off.
But that force planning stuff in the MCDP, it's more than just reacting, right?
It's about anticipating, looking at the whole picture, planning for the future.
And balancing that high-end warfighting with everything else the Corps does.
The peacekeeping, the humanitarian stuff, it's a tough balancing act.
Sounds like it takes a lot of brain power, not just firepower.
You need both, man. That's the whole point of MCDP 1 to 4, developing those thinking Marines.
And you, our listener, you're one of those Marines out there in the fleet.
This deep dive, it's for you, to help you see the bigger picture.
How the Corps works, how you fit into it, the whole 9 yards.
And it's a lot to take in, we know that.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, there's more.
When we come back, we'll get into the nitty-gritty, how the Corps is actually putting this stuff into practice. Okay, so we've talked about WHY, the Corps is changing, what it's changing to.
Yeah, the big ideas from MCDP 1 to 4.
But now, the million-dollar question.
Oh.
How?
How are they making it happen? Right. Big one is talent management.
Talent, like not just who can run the fastest or shoot the straightest.
It's deeper than that. It's about finding each Marine's strengths, what makes them tick.
Like we talked about before, you, the listener, what you bring to the table.
Exactly. And the Corps needs to get better at putting those strengths to work.
So like maybe encouraging skills that aren't the classic grunt stuff.
Right. Think data analysis, languages, understanding different cultures. That's huge now.
Because the world's getting more complex, the battlefield too, right?
Yeah, got to be ready for anything, and that takes all kinds of talents.
And then there's that whole force planning thing, balancing act, right?
Big time, got to be ready for the big war, but also all the stuff in between.
So winning battles, but also winning the peace, right?
Exactly, and that means making tough choices, where to put resources, how to structure the units.
And always looking ahead, what threats are coming, what opportunities.
Being proactive, not just reacting after the fact, that's key.
Now remind me, what was that term, asymmetric something?
Asymmetrical competition, yeah, that's about finding an edge, even when the other guy's got you beat on paper.
Like those examples, the assault breaker and China's...
Maritime militia, right? Those are all about being clever.
Not just matching force for force, but finding a weakness, exploiting it.
Exactly. And that takes a certain mindset, a willingness to think differently.
So how do you teach that? Or is it more like you either got it or you don't?
It's definitely something you cultivate and encourage from the bottom up.
So letting Marines experiment, take risks, come up with crazy ideas.
You got it. Create a culture where that's rewarded, not punished.
Because if everyone's just following the rule book, you're never going to innovate, you know.
Never going to get that breakthrough, that game changer.
And all of this ties back to education, both the official kind and just.
Learning on your own, reading, discussing, keeping your brain sharp.
Because in this world, knowledge is power, even more than before.
The MCDP makes that clear. Marines got to be thinking professionals.
Not just grunts following orders, but understanding the WHY behind it all.
The strategy, the big picture, how your actions fit into the whole thing.
Makes you realize even small choices can have big consequences.
Especially in this competitive environment, everything's connected.
And that's where you, the individual Marine, come in, right?
It all comes down to you, your skills, your knowledge, your dedication.
The fancy weapons, the tech, that's all important.
But it's the Marine behind the weapon that makes the difference.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, think about what we've discussed.
This MCDP, it's not just a document, it's a roadmap for the Corps.
And for you, it's a call to action, to step up, to think, to adapt.
The future of the Corps depends on it, on each and every Marine.
So keep learning, keep pushing, and stay Semper Fi, Devil Dogs.
Ooh.